Music off, recording on. Welcome amazing agents, real estate agents, investors from across the country. Today is Thursday, July 11th, 2019, and this is Mastermind call number 235. Wanted to start off by congratulating Joanne Morris, was our winner of the week last week. Joanne is relatively new with us, I think just a couple months now, and she took both the listing and bought and flipped the property. So within a week's period of time, she had a great week, and congratulations to her. Also wanted to shout out, if any of you missed our role play call, I think it was number 44. Is that right, Chad? Role play call number 44.
Yeah.
On July 3rd. Sandy in LA did a remarkable job. She's probably, in the 6 years we've been doing this, I think it's the best example of an agent actually making the calls to the executors. She did everything right, virtually everything right. So if you guys get a chance to listen to that, go in there and listen to role play number 44. It was very realistic, very sincere. She was did not sound the slightest bit scripted, and very obvious why she's doing as well as she, or is going to do as well as she's going to do. She's brand new. She just only been with us a couple weeks. And that's all I've got. Any of my partners have anything else to add or amend, Tim?
Tag on to what you were saying. So, sorry.
No, go ahead, bud.
Just to continue what Jim was saying. So, for those of you that don't know, we do archive all of our calls, including this call. You can go to alltheleads.com, look under the system, probate system, conference call, video archive. But also, we're trying to carve out those snippets like Jim just referenced. Like if there's a 10-minute section of a call that we think would be beneficial to you guys, we try to carve that out. And so we're not constantly bombarding you with email. Most everything's posted on the blog. So if you go to alltheleads.com and then hit blog in the menu, you'll see tips from the trainer, ask the expert, real estate tips. We have different series that we run. So you can get sound bites of maybe 10 or 5 to 10 minute bites of information. I think it's something we haven't done consistently enough in the past. So I just wanted to mention, if you guys aren't seeing those, you can always find our stuff on youtube.com/alltheleads. But you can also go to alltheleads.com and click on blog. And there's a lot of kind of supplementary conversations happening now as we find when we see people struggling at a certain point, or we hear the same thing over and over, we're trying to do a better job at capturing that in video. So just making you aware there's yet another resource that we have, and if you don't have an hour to listen to a role play call, we're trying to get those down into bite-sized chunks for you.
Yep, well said. And if you're as tech savvy as I am, which is not too much, I found Sandy's name and call. I just went to alltheleads.com and put role play in the search bar, and her call came up. So that's a really simple way to find almost anything.
Yep.
So try to give you as much as we can and make it as easy as possible for you to find it. And Timothy, you had something to add, sir?
No, I was just saying I'm good. Go ahead.
All right, so let's get this show on the road. We have 3 people in the queue. We got plenty of room for more, guys. Just hit *6 and hit 1. And the first up this week is phone number ending in 3170. You're up first.
Hi, guys. Good afternoon. This is Adam calling from Bah-Sten, not Guantanamo, so thank you for that.
That's northern Guantanamo, right? Just north of
Guantanamo. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
probably the same temperature here today.
Yep.
I wanted to just point out, thank you, Chad, for mentioning the smaller snippets. I am just starting my first series of calls, and it's going to be very helpful for me to listen to some role play because I'm getting a lot of thanks, but I'm all set. And so I want to be able to, listen to some scripts and whatnot to see how I can better improve on my script work when dealing with those things. But that's not my question. I actually had 3 quick questions. My first question is, what do you do when there's no number for the personal rep, and there's just a number for the attorney. Do you suggest calling the attorney or just skipping the call altogether?
No, you definitely want to, I mean, obviously we teach you to go for the personal rep first because they're the decision maker and easier to get a hold of. But if that's not an option, you certainly want to touch base with the attorney. And I wouldn't call about a specific case because, you know, you have an opportunity when you get them on the line to create a bigger relationship than just referencing one case. So I would just call and, you know, once you get rapport, you can always say, oh, hey, well, listen, I'm really glad I called today. One specifically that I think you're working on is the Mary Jones estate. Do you know any details about that, or if I can reach out to Paula? I can't seem to find a phone number for her. So go in, and to get, you know, more information on how we approach the attorneys, we talk about it a lot on these calls. So like Jim suggested, go to alltheleads.com. In the top right, you'll see a kind of a global search bar. Type in attorneys, and you'll see videos, and these calls will come up, and you can start to get used to those conversations. But the idea is to go in and show that attorney how your business model picks up where his leaves off, and is a direct complement to their service. So you're doing everything to help the family that's non-legal, and they're handling the legal part. So you consider them part of your team. But I would approach them with that bigger conversation, like, you know, I'm looking for, you know, I'm looking to bring you value, and then once you kind of get engagement, then say, okay, well, let's talk about Mary Smith's estate. I think that one's yours, and I can't actually get a hold of Paula, the representative. That would be my recommendation.
So thank you for that, and that brings me to my next question. I've been doing a little research on the website, but do you guys have any specific marketing materials for attorneys? I'm trying to set up some appointments with these attorneys, and I you know, someone pointed out the brochures and the flyers that you have, and I think I'll probably order a few, but I wasn't sure if you had any other specific pieces to hand to attorneys to explain what we do specifically.
What most people are using is the trifold brochures that they use for the personal representative. And the thing about it, like, attorneys are, I don't want to say they're tough. Like, if your approach is typical, it's really tough to get them to engage with you. And sending someone or handing someone a brochure and expecting it to do the work is really typical. Guys, whoever's on speaker and is typing, can you please mute out? So what I would recommend is just use the trifold brochure and take that with you on the appointment. And then once you guys have kind of hit it off, then use that as a leave behind. But don't try to open with it, because what's so strong about our approach is you open with a confident in-office visit, and that's what they're not used to. That's where you get so much traction, because they're not expecting it. If you mail out 100 trifold brochures, I'd be surprised if you have any conversations. Versus if you drive by 10 offices and use that as a leave behind after a conversation, you're going to find success your first day.
Okay. And then the last question, because I know other people are in the queue.
No, you're good. Take your time.
Okay, great. The reason I haven't ordered any brochures yet is because I'm also debating whether or not to take advantage of your custom website. And I was wondering if you have any feedback on how effective, I mean, I'm assuming they're effective, but like how effective they are. Does it make sense to use this as a secondary piece of marketing, or someone like myself who's just starting in this particular in probate business, even though I've been in the business of real estate for many years, would it make sense to just include my normal website to start?
So it is effective, but some people expect it to be this website that's going to, you know, rank on page 1 of Google and convert like crazy, and that's really not the intent of the site. Mm-hmm. The effectiveness is we want it to kind of be discreet and under the radar. Now you can blog to your heart's content and get it to index and get it to climb, and all your competitors will see what you're doing and will see your information. Or you can keep it discreet and only use that URL and the PS line of your letters, so only the personal representatives and attorneys see it. Only people you want to see it sees it. So even whoever the traffic is, it's not made to convert and like churn out leads. It's made to educate people and differentiate you. So the way I can quantify the value of it, like in my own case, is if I would send 100 letters between Jetpack or Google Analytics, I would see usually 50 to 60 web hits the day the mailman walked down the street. And it was only in the PS line was the only place they could get to that. So in my direct mail was the only place that was published anywhere. And so at least half of my people would come to the website and at least read about me. Now, they wouldn't convert. They wouldn't become leads that day. But over time, I started to get those come list me calls. And at least one a month just picked up the phone and said, hey, listen, we know what you do and we're ready to go. Can you just come over here and bring paperwork? And then I had to backtrack and be like, okay, who am I talking to? Because they were that ready. So it is really effective in building trust. But it's not going to be like don't be disappointed if you put a website up and it's beautiful and it's not like churning out leads. That's really not the point. Think of it as just a really elaborate marketing piece that lets them look deeper into your service. And it's really, really effective at that. And what I would recommend is, pick a domain like BostonProbateHelp.com. Like something that's really simple that a 75-year-old woman can type in on her phone and find your website from the direct mail piece.
And Jim, I know you had something you wanted to add, right?
No, the only thing I was going to say is that the whole purpose of that site is literally, basically what Chad was saying. It's to build credibility. The traffic that's coming to that site is going to be traffic that you drive. It's not going to be something that in any short time you're going to get a lot of organic traffic. The idea is for you to have something that you can throw on your mailing pieces, that you can mention to people, that's on your business cards, and it really is designed simply to set you apart from your competition and show that you've invested time, money, and energy becoming literally an expert in probate. And if you look at it, it has a very deep, frequently asked questions list that answers a lot of questions that people might have about probate, and it just generally shows that you know your craft well, and that's the purpose of it. It's a lot of people use it for that, and it's extremely successful.
Okay, very good, guys. Thank you very much.
Perfect. I had one more comment on the trifold brochure. Most of our agents do use that trifold brochure very effectively. We had someone probably about a month or so ago that really took it to a whole new level. He had a real player in his market that was doing multiple probate deals a month, an attorney, like he was doing 4, 5, 6 a month, and he just couldn't, break the ice with the guy. So he took our trifold brochure and co-branded it with the attorney. He put the attorney's name and information on there also, and then dropped a dozen off to him. And it just really blew the attorney away. The nice thing with our printing service, you basically get bulk pricing, but you don't have to do 1,000. We can do short runs like that for you, and so just keep that in mind. It's a way to kind of take it to the next level. If you do have an attorney that you're really trying to impress, this attorney and this realtor were the attorney was very impressed with the realtor that he went to that much trouble to include him in his marketing piece. Just if you do get a player, you can take it to the next level. I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, I want to be able to, like you said, utilize this as just an extra tool in my arsenal to be able to just continue to add more credibility to the program,
sure.
What I offer when I do meet with attorneys in person.
Perfect. Great questions. Thank you very much. And we only have 2 more in the queue, guys. We got all kinds of time. What usually happens about 5 minutes till 2, we have a dozen people, or 3 or 4 people jump in. So if you know you're going to participate, do it now. Hit star 6 and hit 1. And then in about 10, 15 minutes, I'm going to turn the queue off. So make sure we're able to get to everyone. Next up is phone number ending in 8564. You're up next.
Yes, good afternoon. Thurmon Cohen here from Mercer County, New Jersey. Along the same lines as how you doing? Along the same lines as the attorney, how do you vet them to make sure that I have 2 references from people that I but have never done any work with these attorneys. So how do you go about vetting them to make sure they're going to be the kind of people that you want to work with?
Well, by meeting them is really the best way. Are you a subscriber?
Yes, ma'am. My list is supposed to drop tomorrow.
Yeah, so if you look at, when you're in the My Probate Leads, the CRM, if you look at the download options, one of them is download attorney, one's download attorney list and the other is download attorney outreach or something. It's a PDF. What that one does is it prints it in a 2-column PDF and then pulls up the number of cases they have that month and puts them in parentheses right beside of their name. So if you wanted to create a filter and reach out to the busiest probate firms first, you could do that and just focus on the ones that have, let's say, more than 3 this month. So that's usually a pretty good front-end filter. If they're running 3 to 6 cases a month, and that's the core of their business probably. And they're picking up that many each month, and that's accumulating over probably a rolling 6 to 12 months. So they're working on likely hundreds of cases at a time. That's kind of how you can start to build your short list. Ideally, in a perfect world, you would make a face-to-face visit with every attorney on the list and then pick the one, you choose which ones you like to work with. But I'll say this, if a probate attorney was a bad communicator and dressed poorly, but they still had referrals to send, you would still take them, right?
Sure.
Even if they're unprofessional, it's not going to affect your part of the job. So I think the best filter is, are they handling cases? Then they're a good referral partner. And unless it's just business values or ethics differences, But the best thing you can do is get out there and meet them, and you'll find your favorites.
Okay. A corollary to that is, so let's say that the person needs, decides they want to do some repair work. They want to remodel the kitchen or the bathroom, and I have several contractors that I've worked with that I know. Do I choose one, or do I have 3 contractors tripping through this person's house?
No, I always recommend one person. I don't, especially in brokerage, everybody's so cautious, and they're like, well, here's a list of 4 lenders. Please call one. If I do give you options, I'm going to point and say, I'm going to have Jim call you. If for some reason you don't like him, there's 2 more here that you can choose from, and they're going to like him because that's, So don't worry about having to give options. I find it to be way simpler. What I do in the very end of the appointment is I wrap up everything using a timeline. So you said your target date in a perfect world is August 31st. So in that case, we have to have it under contract by July 15th. In that case, we're going to have a busy week. We've got a few days to get all this done. Here's how it's going to happen. Joe, the contractor, is going to call you. He'll be over here to pull out these bushes, replace the front door, and seal the driveway. Then you're going to hear from Sam, the home stager. Then you're going to hear from Joey, the photographer. And I kind of lay out who these people are and give them the phone numbers for them. But I put the burden of reaching out on my vendor, not on my client. So they've got enough on their plate. They have enough to manage. So what I do is I say, this is the person that will be calling you and why, and then I let it go. And then as soon as I finish an appointment, I'll go back and I'll set up those vendors, and I'll be like, hey, I need you to reach out to this person today and set an appointment. And I realize the appointment can't always be today. That's on their timeline, but I need them to call today. You have about a 6-hour window is what I expect from my vendors to reach out to whoever I'm working with. And if you've chosen the right vendors and set the right expectation, it's realistic. Even contractors, as busy as they are, can step out, away from the table saw and make a quick phone call to set an appointment for tomorrow morning. So that's how I handle it. I don't leave a list. A lot of folks are like, no, I'm going to make a list of vendors and that'll be a valuable piece, like a marketing piece. Well, the reality is that's one of your most valuable pieces of your offer is you have a curated, vetted team of professionals. You don't just want to hand that over, right? So I try to do one-to-one referrals that way.
Okay, great. Thank you much.
All right, perfect. We have 2 more in the queue, guys. We got room for more. hit *6 and hit 1, and you'll be up next. Next up is phone number ending in 9711. You're up next.
Hey, this is James. You remember I had the tooth extracted and I was mumbling. So right now I'm looking like a horse because the back teeth, all I need is a bit.
Well, you were very entertaining. That sounds good. What's up?
All right, real quick. I really appreciate you guys. Let me say that first. I've been doing this. No, never a but. But what I do, I just landed 3 contracts this week. Also, I have 4 appointments for next week. And Chad, thank you for the Monday and Friday, suggesting that we meet with people Monday and Friday.
Yeah, working out for you, huh?
Working out, at 6 months, and being honest, in the beginning, I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I'm retired from the Marine Corps, and I normally straight ahead ask the question, here it is, and that's it. And I have to go back to saying that I have to be more like the true person I am is. I'm a helpful person. So I'm here to help these people. That's it.
Well, that is great. Please elaborate more on the. You said you took 3 listings in the last week or 2, or how recently?
3 listings. Well, 1 was done this morning, but 2 of them were last week, and they were leads from August. And that was the first list that you all sent me, and these people were finally ready to do something.
Now, did they receive your marketing all the way back in August, September, October, or did you reach out to them again?
I reached out to them again. Initially, I started getting leads in December. So you gave me the courtesy of giving me some old leads in the Richmond area because you didn't have anybody doing Richmond since August, and they sent me those leads.
Okay. So I'm assuming you were just following up on the phones to 11-month-old data?
Yes.
Who in their right damn mind would do that?
I don't know, but I tell you what, it works.
Yeah, so for everybody listening, that's a question we get all the time is, how long is this good? And everyone feels like if they don't get letters out 2 seconds after their leads come that they've completely lost the value of the list. And a lot of those come list me calls I was talking about were, what James is experiencing. Like you, over time, you kind of build momentum because you get these bonus deals that come from something you did a year ago or 11 months ago. So, and those were all 3 from that historical data from your older leads, James?
Correct.
Now, let's talk about probate quicksand. So what made them sit around and do nothing in a state like ours, where we're in Virginia, guys, so we have essentially an express lane. I've seen probate complete, like everyone get everything done in as little as 2 months and then just sit and wait for the timeline. Everything's done now. So in a state where they can very, very easily get it done under 6 months, what made them wait that long? Was it the hurdle of having a house full of stuff or just the emotional part of it? Did you get into that? And what made them procrastinate for so long?
2 of them, the sisters were on the will, but one person was the executor.
Mm-hmm.
And in the both sisters that were on the will, on the 2 different cases, both sisters that were on the will, it was very emotional for them. They weren't ready to give up anything, and they were taking their time cleaning it out.
Mm-hmm. So that's probate quicksand. That's where people just get stuck in that emotional hurdle of, well, we can't throw away mom's clothes. Remember when we used to dress up with her and we would do, on Sunday afternoons, we would do the runway show? And there's all these memories tied to it. Where with leadership, let me ask you this. Do you think if you had a conversation with them last October, you could have shown them how it was in their best interest to move forward and they would have had this done and paid a lot less money in carrying costs and taxes and insurance and everything else?
Absolutely. And if I'd have known more, if I'd have done the studying that I've been doing now, going back to the old probate mastermind calls, I would have been able to close those deals in 3 months versus 6 to 8 months. No, not almost a year.
I'm kind of making this a teachable moment, kind of rhetorical questions, but I know we've got a lot of people in a lot of different stages of building this on the call. So just, guys, pay attention to this story. You'll hear me talk about probate quicksand and how if you're confident in your offer, you're clear in your offer and confident in your delivery, then you're perceived as a leader. And you can reach down and get people by the hand and pull them out of this probate quicksand and move forward months quicker than they would on their own. Now, that's not to say if you don't make contact, eventually one day they'll have their own breakthrough. And I've had them as far out as 25 months. A lady had a breakthrough, called me, and within 3 days, a 52-year-old woman cleaned out a 2,400 square foot house and was ready to go to market. But it's almost always better to make contact with them early, force the conversation, like jump in there and say, listen, this is why we reach out early, because we know we can make a big difference. And ask, what's the situation? What's the personal property situation, the finance situation? And then when they say, well, we just don't know what to do with mom's stuff, then you can step in and go, listen, that's a common thing for a lot of families. That's why we have the right partners to make sure we can give you options, so we can help you sell it. We can do everything so you don't even have to see it. Like if it's hard for you to process, but it has to be done, we can handle everything 100%. And so you start to give them leadership, and what I said, what David agreed, like if he would have spoken with them, 8 months ago, he could have probably had those houses on the market sold, and the estate would have ended up netting a lot more money. And that's a big part of our approach, is focusing on people and situation, and then you'll see where you can provide value and move things forward for the family. So you've got
absolutely
three in the bag and 4 in the pipeline, right?
Yes.
Well, that's
like
great. A good week.
I was just going to say, I didn't even mean to interrupt you, James. What's great about doing these calls every week and talking to different people all the time, we see a common thread. Reminds me very much of the case study that Chad just did with David Pinnell. He really did nothing for 6 or 8 months, and I love his story. He just put a huge deal together with somebody he had called for. It was the 47th time him and his staff tried to call somebody. They finally got him on the phone, and they were finally ready to do something. So that's a common thread that we hear all across the country is agents come into this, they're used to FSBO and expired prospecting, where the first one in gets the deal. And this, we're not saying don't call them right away, but this is a lot different. These leads season exceptionally well. So, go back and I'm sure you're doing it, but go back and call every single one of those that you didn't contact before, and I guarantee you there's more deals in there. So congratulations. I think you inspired a lot of people.
I appreciate it. And hey, I'm trying to average 7 a month. I already do 20. I don't do a lot of homes sales. I do like 15 a year. I'm trying to do 7 a month and start buying some of these.
Nice. Well, that's great. Well, that's pretty sizable increase of business if you go from 15 to 84 deals in a year. That's off the chart in growth. Yeah.
Hey, I got my blinders on, so I want to be fed.
James, you said you're gonna get it, start buying. Are you including that in the conversation, like as an option?
Not as of yet, but I will.
Why not?
But it's in the I really don't know.
So, especially if you plan to put yourself in that position, you need to, because a lot of families want to hear about the cash offer. It's the hook that most, 100% of people want to talk about, but only 10% will be willing to sell for that low of a deep discount. But it's a really good conversation starter. So, and it also really differentiates you from any competition. If you're, if they expect you to just be a realtor, and you bring a scenario to the table where you can help them sell in under a week, and those people that are super motivated to sell, that will dump a house for 50 cents on the dollar, they think they've got this preconceived notion that anything to do with a realtor will take forever and will be even more stressful. And it's not always true. But if that realtor is also an investor or has a list of cash buyers, then you've put more solutions in one conversation. So if there are other investors competing, you'll be able to get that business. And I just got off the phone with a gentleman who, by providing options, and she ended up choosing, she was about ready to sell at a wholesale price. And he went in and said, well, I would be happy to pay you that, but we can sell it for this. And he sold it for $150,000 more, and it sold in 2 days. But showing her the options, like, I can pay you cash, I can sell it as is, or we can fix it up and get absolute top dollar. Like, it just builds a much, much stronger trust. So I challenge you to don't be planning to go talk about making cash offers. Go make some cash offers. Like, get out there and include that in your conversation, because you never know when you're going to get a $50,000, $60,000, $80,000 deal, because that is the best thing for the seller. So just get there sooner than later.
Well,
awesome job, buddy.
That's my thing. Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And
throw
one other thing in there to. Sorry, I'm
Go ahead,
talking
Tim.
over you, but just say one other thing you might want to consider, and this is really just for the other investors that are on this call, is that just because it's a probate deal does not mean that any type of normal investment proposal might possibly be on the table. It is possible to do any kind of financing, any kind of creative things that you want to go do. You may also find that the property still has a mortgage on it, and anything that you want to do as an investor that you could normally do. It doesn't always have to be a cash offer or a discounted cash offer. Any type of creative things that you would normally do in terms of looking at a probate deal, they're all still on the table. You just have to be very deft in the way that you present them to those customers, because you got to realize that there are other issues at play. And Chad does a great job of calling out the emotional side of this as well and getting out of probate quicksand. But just realize these are deals that are out there, and somebody's going to make that deal. That house is going to move, and you need to find every possible way that you can do that.
Absolutely. We have 4 more in the queue, guys. I'm going to close the queue in about 2 minutes. So last chance to jump in, hit *6 and hit 1. And then next up is phone number ending in 3465. You're up next.
Hey, my name is Michelle Taylor from Columbus, Ohio. And I just got started working with probate, like wanting to learn how to work with probate deals. And I'm kind of like not really knowing where to start, because I went up to like the county and pulled some public records to get like the attorney's information, but I don't really know how to like approach the situation to be able to like have them want to send me leads,
Okay. Are you a subscriber, or you're just listening in on the call?
No, that's another thing. I want to get subscribed, but I just randomly got this. I don't really know where I got it from. It just came to my email.
Okay. Well, the good news is I have your phone number here. And what's your first name?
Michelle Taylor.
Michelle, like Michelle, but Michelle?
Yes.
Michelle, if it's okay with you, right after the call, I'll have one of our salespeople reach out to you and kind of walk you through the whole program step by step. Are you a realtor, an investor, or both?
Both.
Oh, great. This works very, very well for both. So rather than take up a lot of time, we'll have somebody call you back. But Chad, as far as somebody brand new just starting off, is there a few words of wisdom you want to give Michelle, or we can let our salesperson do it?
I mean, the only thing I would say is this business exists because it's incredibly hard to do this manually, like to go to the courthouse, get the leads, skip trace, find the numbers, get all your marketing set up. So just be aware of the value of your time. And my best advice is sign up here. We've got 600 hours of free education, and I don't think there's a company in the country that supports people the way we do. But let us handle the data part, and you go do what you're good at. You do the people part. So don't worry about the courthouse. Don't worry about the marketing. Like, that's what we'll do for you. what you need to focus on is understanding probate in your area and understanding the problems those people have, and just become the solution to it.
Perfect. All right, we have 3 more in the queue. Next up is Anonymous. And actually,
Hello?
someone just, excuse me, before we go to you, there was one other person in the queue. When I connected you, sir, somehow they dropped out. So if you were in there, go ahead and sign back in. Hit *6 and hit 1, and we'll get to you. Sorry, go ahead, sir. You're up.
Yeah, hi, Andre from New Jersey. I was just on the website the other day, and I know you have a probate mastery training course, but when I look at that page, it's only showing the one that recently passed. It doesn't have a new date for the next course. So my question is, when is the next course going to take place?
So my calendar is like a weather app. It changes about every 5 minutes. And I haven't gotten that scheduled. It's going to be the last week of July will be the live course. We've already got like 15 people in the class. If you want to sign up now rather than waiting on me, you can go ahead and sign up, and I'll send you the June recordings today from the class we just finished.
Okay,
And then
fantastic.
that way you're not sitting there twiddling your thumbs for 3 weeks or 2 weeks. But we'll get you the recordings as soon as you sign up. We'll get those out to you, and then I'll register you as soon as I book it on the calendar, which hopefully will be today or Monday.
Okay, and I'm speaking to, this is Chad that I'm speaking to?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, great, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, and I was just going to add a little plug, Chad. You started off, I think that was 3 1.5-hour sessions, and the last one I think went nearly 12 hours. So the nice thing is it's always changing, just like as Chad learns, as we learn, as you know, the market changes and the business changes. We're always updating it. We're always adding to it. And once you take Mastery, you can take it every month if you want. I mean, you can take it as many times as you want. And I know Chad has had people take it, 3, 4, 5 times. So, don't wait.
The record.
13 is the record? Wow.
Joyce just took it her 13th time.
So is she a slow learner, or you just have that much extra material every time?
She pulls at least one new idea out every time she takes it and goes and puts that into play. So she comes back like every month.
That's great. She's going to be your assistant teacher pretty soon, right?
I know. I'm going to start delegating to her.
Exactly. Awesome. Does that help, sir? Any other questions?
Yes, it does. Fantastic. Thank you very much.
All right, great. For some reason, we lost a couple people in the queue, guys. We have 2 now. So I'm going to open it back up if a couple more people want to jump in. We do have extra time. Next up is phone number ending in 5952. You're up next. Are you there? 5952. I hear you. Hello, hello. Did you mute yourself out? I don't think so. I hear something in the background. 5952. Area code 310. Are you there? All right. Well, sign back in. For some reason, we can't hear you. And anybody else, we only have one more person in the queue, guys. We have another 15, 20 minutes. So hit *6 and hit 1. We are going to open it back up, and we have time for probably 2 or 3 more people. In the meantime, phone number ending in 7428. You're up next.
Oh, hey guys, this is Dave giving you a call. I think maybe some people did what I did when you said earlier that somebody dropped off when you brought up the last caller. I removed myself thinking I was going back in, but I did it again and got back in the queue here. So
welcome back.
Going through that. Yeah. So I got a question for you guys. Using the ISA service through you guys among the other marketing tools I'm using as well, and had a question kind of going back to what James was talking about. And question about that is that how hard are you training the ISAs to push the the objections like, oh, I got it taken care of, or oh, we'll deal with it later, which might have been the response that James got. We're not ready to do it. And how, not only how hard are they pushing, but what is the specific input and status updates that they're going to be putting in there, so that I can go back through there, or have you guys go back through some really old lists and push that forward with some of these folks that have been kind of in the quicksand, like you say, because I don't get the recordings anymore, which were really, really helpful for me to really understand what the situation was. And yeah, are they pushing hard and putting that note in there, or are they kind of just checking it off as they're never going to do anything and marking it as not interested? Or how are you guys training them to do that?
Tim or Chad, which one of you wants to take that, or both?
Tim, you can talk to the notes part of it. I mean, what we train people to, we're training them to look at, is there real estate? Is there a motivation to sell? And if so, like, we try to get a face-to-face appointment. If not, we fall back to, a calendar, a phone follow-up. But the idea is to not take objections. And as you probably, when we were using a different system and we gave recordings, you could hear the ISAs. They would sometimes come back around 2 or 3 times. So they did a good job of agreeing, like, yeah, I can appreciate that. Let me ask you this. And they'll kind of divert the conversation over, ask a question, regain control, and then come back at them. And so the idea is, obviously, just like we teach you guys, like, don't give up, don't take an objection at face value, find out why it's an objection. So they're obviously, trained the same way. And our ISAs are, they're on these calls. They do just this. So they're listening to role plays, they're listening to masterminds. So we have consistency across what they do and what we teach others to do, in case you are, using both, if you're making your own calls and supplementing with ours. So the training doesn't vary that much. They're still looking to achieve the same thing, and they should handle objections the same way.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's important to know that their objective is always the same as yours would be if you're on that call. They take really, really great pride in the work that they do. They're good at it. They've been doing it a long time. They have a lot of experience. There's probably not anybody in the country that's talked to more potential probate opportunities than our ISAs have, and there's not anything that they haven't heard, and they're pretty polished about overcoming most of those objectives. The other thing is, you mentioned about the recordings, and one of the things that we've learned as we've gone through this, what we can do and can't do, and maintain legality and all of that. And the reason that we don't do them anymore is because it's not legal to do that. You can't record a conversation without talking to the customer, and you got to start it in the very beginning, and that just takes the call to a whole different area. So we don't do that anymore. That's the only reason that we don't do that. We're careful about doing it, but I think you can rest assured that they're doing a pretty good job of overcoming all of that, and they do document as much as they can anything that's relevant to it, and we're constantly talking to them about giving you as much information as possible. And over the last several months, they've increased dramatically the amount of info that they're putting in there, so that you really do have a good handle on it when you go back and talk to them.
Okay, great. And is that so if there is a hard line or they're not ready to do anything, set an appointment, is there a follow-up in a month type of status that they're adding, or how do they handle that kind of situation? Again, going back to James's example from earlier.
I'm not sure I quite understood your question.
Oh, just like a follow-up sequence. If they have real estate, they aren't motivated to do anything right now, even though they might push 2, 3, 4 times to get that appointment or get them out of the quicksand. They stay in the quicksand, but they have real estate that they're need to do something with. How is the ISA how are you training them to put that into this, update the status notes?
They're documenting whatever that customer tells them, whatever they get out of that conversation. Again, I'll say pretty much exactly the way that you would do it to, let yourself know that they're going to put that data in there. And if the customer says, I might have a better answer the 15th of next month, they'll put that information in there and make sure that, whatever they know, you'll know when that call is over, and they do put that in there. You pointed out something, however, that's interesting, and that's something that, and I made some notes here about this. We're always looking at, what we can do to sharpen our axe, and might need to do some things that provide that, not only that data there, but we do have the ability to book the appointment and have all the information there, but we might also do something that comes back and nags you about that call, when that timeline is up. And we'll take a look at doing that, at some point in the next maybe software update we look at. When we raise the hood on that, we might add that as a feature so that they could book a nag for you later on to get on your case about calling if that in fact was the case. So thanks for that question.
Yeah, absolutely. Was that kind of a pun, being that James called himself a horse earlier? I don't know.
I have no humor at all. I'm not a humorous person. I'm not a humorous person at all. But I get the nag thing. That was good. This is a big day.
Yeah.
I've been getting beat up all day long.
Yeah, I was going to say nay. No.
All right, let's stop horsing around and move on, can we?
Yes, we can. Hey, I'm just going to say real quick, it's interesting because it reminds me of a few months ago when we were recording the calls. We actually had one agent that listened to the call and quit because he was offended at how aggressive our ISA was. And honestly, I was a real estate coach for 10 years. I listened to it, and I thought the ISA did a remarkable job of taking a guy from I'm not interested to setting an appointment, and he was extremely pleasantly persistent throughout. So, but that was, for some agents, I guess maybe that's why this particular agent, it wasn't a time factor. It was just that, boy, he was not aggressive at all. So we do train them to be on the side of being pleasantly persistent, rather than give it up easily. And we try and, like I think, our ISAs are in-house, they're monitored, they're trained, and, we think they're pretty good. So hopefully that answers your question.
Great. Yeah, no, that's perfect, and that would be a great addition, I think, for a kind of follow-up sequence or reminder.
Sure.
For a task like that. So great. Thanks, guys.
You're very welcome. We have two more in the queue. That should just about take us up to the top of the hour. Next up is phone number ending in 5356. You're up next.
Hello, this is Alicia from Fort Myers. How are you guys?
Great, Alicia. How you doing?
Good. So I am brand new to this. So this, question is, I guess, probably maybe a little premature, but I'm just trying to prepare myself for, upcoming
Sure.
business. So I need to build my vendor list, the cleaning crews, the general contractors, estate sales and stuff like that. And I guess my question is, as I'm doing that, is it important, should I try to find vendors that will allow invoicing at closing, or, you know what I mean? I guess what I'm trying to say is, if the client asks that, is this all stuff I have to pay up front, then what would my response to that be?
Great question.
So most of the services, including, if you're coming at this from a brokerage standpoint, your commission obviously comes after you do what you promise. Your estate
Sure.
sale company gets paid after they do what they promise. A good contractor won't ask for 50% up front. They'll get to work and they'll get paid when they did what they promised. Some contractors are going to require 50% up front and 50% upon completion. So most of the services that we'll use don't necessarily, they don't incur a cost until there's some value there, right? So
Okay.
in a lot of cases, a lot of folks, the way we presented it, this, a lot of times this sounds too good to be true, and people are like, there's no way you can do this without charging. And that's true. But for most of the services we offer, we charge once we've done what we promise. So you don't have to take any real risk. For example, if we help you sell the home, we'll take a commission. If our contractor comes in, he'll do the work and then look for payment. And in certain cases, if you just don't have money for the payment, then we'll actually escrow that invoice with a service charge or an interest charge. You can pay for it out of the closing proceeds. It really, it starts when we have a a clear picture of what needs done, then I can answer your question more specifically. Is that fair? And then move.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and typically most estates, even if they have money, they're not going to spend a whole lot. They're not going to use, we encourage you to have as many spokes in the wheel as possible, as many vendor partners as possible, mainly because it makes a more impressive marketing presence. It gives you more hooks and more reasons to get into engaging conversations. It will be rare that you ever use more than 3 vendors on a single transaction. Like a lot of times you'll bring in an estate sale company, or you'll bring in a contractor, or you'll bring in, a social worker to help find somebody suitable living for seniors, or you'll bring in 1 or 2 people on a deal. And a lot of the services we offer, they don't even have to pay for. Like a social worker obviously is being paid by the government. So they can come in, do what they do, bring a ton of value, and they don't have to pay for anything. So just try to present it in such a way that, well, let's decide how we're going to help you first, and then I'll let you know how you're going to pay for it.
Okay. And then, I know you said earlier in the call, too, that typically you will put on your contractor or your vendor to contact the PR directly so that you're not really in the middle of the cost discussions, right?
Yep. I don't want to be in the... It's not just about cost either. I certainly don't want anyone else's invoices coming through my books if I'm not getting any revenue for any earnings for that. But also, I don't want them coming through my calendar, through my phone. Like, I don't want to be the monkey in the middle.
Okay.
So from a marketing standpoint, I want it to appear as a single vertically integrated company that can do all of this stuff. As soon as I've built rapport and I'm looking this person in the eye, then I'm going to disclose, okay, listen, our contractor is Joe. He's going to call you. He'll have a contract. You guys can agree on the price and terms, take care of that, and pay him directly whenever it's finished. And this person will do this, and this person. And at that point, it becomes apparent to them that, oh, okay, this isn't the Walmart of probate services, but he has vetted these people, and he is doing what he said. So they obviously at some point will realize you don't all work in the same office. But when they get the letter and when they hear you on the phone for the first time, they will think that you're. I've had people ask one person was like, where the hell is your office? It must be the size of a damn Walmart. And they literally, because of the way we market, they thought that there was this massive team of contractors, clean-out crews, financial advisors, CPAs, and we were all in one big office. And that's what we want, because it really differentiates us. So you'll, at some point when when you've got a relationship going, they'll start to they'll figure it out, like, oh, okay, so she's just a really good connector and handed me all this on a silver platter. And you don't really lose social points for that. You still get credit for bringing that to the table. So it doesn't hurt you at all to do it that way.
That's perfect. That's the perfect answer. So you guys helped me. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Alicia. I was just going to say, in one regard, it's kind of like an REO where you take care of as much as possible, for the seller, for the bank, but it's completely different than an REO. You're not expected to coordinate and pay for everything. So, good way to look at it. All right. Well, thank you so much. We actually had one extra person jump in the queue. I'll try to get to you if I can. Next up is phone number ending in 6885. You're up next.
Hi there, my name is Justin Lee. I'm based in San Diego. I'm an investor, not an agent. I am just on the Mastermind call. I have not signed up for the data service, but I was curious to know, other than the purchasing of the data I got on earlier, you guys were talking about ISAs. Are you guys providing the ISAs yourself, or are people getting those through an independent third party?
No, we have them in-house, so they're specifically trained for our business model.
And are they all stateside folks, and at what rate do they bill out at?
So it's $2.50 per lead, and we give you up to 5 phone numbers for each lead. So we're not charging at the call level, but at the lead level. So $2.50, and yes, everybody's domestic callers with basically no accents. Unlike my beautiful accent. Our
So let me understand this correctly. I subscribe with you guys. I buy the data. And sorry, I'm turning this into a sales question, guys, but it would just be helpful if I could understand it better. if I sign up with you guys, get the data service, and then I say, yes, I want the ISAs, your ISAs will call for me, and I don't get charged until they submit a lead. They've had a conversation with the person, and the person's like, yes, I want Justin to call me.
No, if there's, so let's say you have 100 leads, and you ask us to call all of them. We're going to charge $250. We'll call every number for every lead, and then you'll get the report saying here were the results.
Got it. Okay. And how many times are you calling or attempting to touch them?
Tim, are we doing 2 or 3 right now?
We're doing 2 rounds. We do 2 rounds of calls at differentiated times. So we're trying to make sure that we try and catch them, at different times of the day. So we'll make one pass through it, and then we'll make another pass to anyone that we didn't get the first time and try to reach them all. So that's what we're doing, is doing that.
Okay. And are they doing anything else in terms of like texting or emailing them, or is it just the 2 phone calls?
Well, they're doing the phone calls. That's what that's what they're doing, is they make the phone calls. They dial for dollars, make the appointments. That's their job to do that. They're not doing texting. They're not doing email and any of that right now. Now when you get the appointments, we send the information out. You get it really quickly, and you can get right on it. And I think one of the things that might be helpful, because you're asking about the ISA, and we do also other services as well. We do the mailings for you. We do a lot of technology things and a lot of pieces. And I think Jim has your number there. And I think what probably might be helpful is after this call, we'll have somebody reach out to you and just walk you through everything, and you can kind of get all your questions out at once.
That would be great, and then everybody doesn't need to listen to my silly questions.
Yeah, I was going to do that anyway.
Silly at all. I appreciate you asking.
I was going to do that anyway, but now we have your permission. Expect a call in the next 5 or 10 minutes.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Justin. Last up this week, we're going to go just a little bit over, but last up is phone number ending in 7770. You're up last.
Hi, this is Susan from the Bay Area. I'm checking with you because I'm wondering if you have any sort of formal document, back to the reference on Alicia's call, about a formal document that the sellers would sign when you supply the vendor, and then you're adding your fees and then all of it to be paid in escrow. Because I got caught in a situation with a seller, and they tried to cheat me out of the things that I had paid for. And then I consulted with an attorney, and he said, well, you're kind of out of luck because I didn't have anything in writing. And I know, I'm a realtor, and I know that our association does not like us to create contracts because we are not attorneys for that situation. Do you have any kind of something already put together that I can kind of follow, sort of?
Well, I would say the first thing is, and I've only done it twice, but I've only gone against the advice I'm going to give you twice. Don't put yourself in a position where you're risking your own capital and you're providing the service. Like, you've done enough. So you don't have to pay for cleanouts. You can find other ways to do it. And that's the first rule, is like, just don't get yourself in the middle of it so you don't have that risk. Now, when I've made exceptions, both times have been with very elderly couples who lost their parents very late in life. Like, the parent died, and the PR was a child in their 80s, like mid to late 80s. Their parents they had children really young and like lived into their hundreds. But they were from a generation that they didn't trust what they didn't see. So I'm like, this contractor's or this cleanout guy's gonna come and do this, and then the carpet guy's gonna come and do this. And they're like, well, I just don't know. We're really comfortable with you. So I stepped up and took the risk. I paid for the clean out. I paid for the carpet install. And then they literally drove up here and handed me a personal check. So the money was only out for a couple of days. And in that case, they had the money. They just didn't trust writing a check because they were elderly. They didn't trust writing a check to someone they didn't know. So I took the risk. But it's a rare occasion when I'm willing to do that, because we can leverage things like estate advance companies. And I'm working really hard to find the right estate advance company to get on an Ask the Expert series so you guys can learn from that and what they can do to help your clients in these situations. So essentially, you can take a short-term loan, non-secured loan, and that estate advance company will take the risk. Now, they're coming in at the very bottom line of the distribution when they settle probate. So it's not going to be a cheap interest rate. It's going to be more like a credit card interest rate because they're really sticking their neck out to make an unsecured loan like that. So that's one solution. Carrying an invoice to escrow is the best way you can do it. If you partner with strong vendors, they can typically float invoices for 90 or 120 days. Contractors are the easiest because there are ways to secure them. Like a contractor can, they can submit an invoice with a 10% premium or 12% premium, whatever they're comfortable with for taking that capital risk, submit it to escrow, and then go straight to the courthouse and record a mechanics lien. So that way, even if something goes wrong, if the sale falls apart and they don't sell, your contractor at least has a mechanics lien on a property that is most likely it has to transfer out of probate. So it might take 6 months in a worst case scenario, but when that property transfers, they've got it for it. In order for it to transfer, they've got to remove that lien. So he's got to be paid. So it's easier to protect contractors because of mechanics liens. If it's, a clean out company and it's $1,000, it's hard to secure that. So you can either leverage a lender to loan the family money and they will have their own contract, or you can leverage your relationship with the vendor and have them carry the risk through the closing table to get a premium on top of it. But
it's also one of the questions. Go ahead, Bud. I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
Yeah, just try at all costs avoid risking your own money because you're the one providing the service and the expertise. That should be enough.
Okay. And as you build your team, when you do this, as you build your team, one of the questions that you need to make sure that you ask is exactly what Chad's talking about. As you interview that, ask people if you're talking to contractors or frankly anybody, even if it is a clean out crew or anybody else, ask them if they ever do work and place mechanics liens and get paid at the closing table, because the stronger ones will do that depending on the nature of that relationship. As you build it, you'll find that there are definitely contractors who will work to do that, and as long as they're either pulling that mechanics lien or they get on the HUD, they're good to go, and they're used to doing that. And oftentimes they'll even lay that off on a third party themselves, so they'll have already gotten their money and they're guaranteeing it back to somebody else. So they're just ask if they've had that experience as you build your team.
Yeah, all that is really, really good advice. I was just trying to be very, very kind to these people, and they end up taking advantage of the situation. It was kind of tragic for what I actually did for the whole situation. But back to what you were saying, Chad, about the estate advance company, where would I find one of those for people if I needed to?
So, like I said, I've been trying to vet them, and I'm trying to speak to as many owners. If anyone on this call knows a reputable estate advance company, please have them email Chad at all the leads and ask if they're willing to come here and talk to us on this call or do a video. If you Google estate advance company, there's 3 or 4 that are working on a national level. Did you say you're in California?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, and there are, one of the gentlemen I spoke to last week, he's an attorney in North LA, like North LA County, and he is a probate attorney. But the families were oftentimes coming up against the wall of, well, we know we could sell this house for $500,000 if we just had another $30,000 to do the kitchen. So he started an estate advance company, but the reason I haven't had him on, as our national spokesperson is he only is interested in doing the loans in California. So I'm still trying to find the right person, but right now all you can do is what I'm doing. Just Google estate advance lender or estate advance company and see who you can find, and talk to them, talk to 2 or 3, compare their rates, compare their terms, their track records, what loan sizes they make, and maybe having all 3 as arrows in your quiver is the right answer. You can
okay,
have
that sounds great.
One may be more suitable for for a certain type of like personal property or getting homes cleaned out, where the other might be willing to loan upwards of $200,000. Some of these guys will only do 10 or 15 grand, regardless of the estate amount. That's all the risk they're comfortable with. So ask them about how big of a loan they're willing to make. Is it based on a percentage of gross value or just a set dollar amount? And then you'll kind of see which ones you can use where.
Perfect. I love it.
Thank you, Susan. And Tim, before I wrap up, you had something you wanted to share.
Yeah, this just came in as a question that we got during the call from somebody who heard your earlier comment, Chad, about mastery and the fact that, they can take it again. And the question was, do they have to pay for it a second time? And the reality of your answer, I think you said it, but they may not have heard it, was that we don't charge you to basically audit the course again. You can certainly participate over and over and be part of it. We don't charge you but once for it. So that was the only thing I wanted to make a point out of. If you've already signed up and you've been once before, you can come back again. And as Chad said, I think Joy's been 13 times now. Get something new every time. So we welcome you to those calls. And I'm done.
Just to be clear, like if you do want to pay a second, third, or 13th time, I'm 100% open to that. I do need motorcycle tires.
Actually, we split that, I believe, Chad, is what we said. But all right, moving on.
All right, guys. Great call, guys. I sort of get the feeling that the 4th of July is behind us, the summer's half over, and it seems like people are getting back to work. We're certainly noticing it this week in our business, so hopefully you guys are too. I want to end this call the way I always do. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. I want to particularly thank those who actively participated. I think I know who our winner of the week is, but that announcement will be coming soon. The two people who asked us to call them, our salespeople will be reaching out to you. And I want to challenge each of you, take one idea, one thought, one thing that inspired you on this call, go out and put it into practice and come back next Thursday and share your results with the group. Thank you so much, guys. Make it a great week, and we will talk to you same time next Thursday. Take care.